I guess I will consent.
Sweet. All right. I am ready when you are.
Oh my god. Okay, let's do it. Let's go.
This.
Let's go.
Yep.
Hey everybody, I'm Mackenzie Meaney.
And I'm Bridget Reilly.
And this is
episode 2.
Season 2, episode 2. So you might wonder why Bridget and I are dressed up here today wearing our blazers. That's because we are talking about soccer again today. So we decided we dress it up a little bit and take it on men in blazers style. So yeah, that's today's episode. But Bridget, why don't you get into it specifically?
Okay, awesome. So today we are getting into men's soccer and what their fall season would have looked like. We're specifically looking at their returning stars, incoming players, how their season will play out. And also we have a special guest today, which is super exciting. Before we get to that though, we will break down the 2020 team dynamic and their past season successes. Mackenzie, could you update us on the team's past seasons?
Absolutely. So the past seasons that the men's soccer team has had are pretty solid. Since 2015, they've consistently qualified for the MAAC tournament, and in 2015 and 2016, they made it all the way to the quarterfinals. In 2018 and 2019, they made it to the semis, while ranked 3rd and 4th in the tournament, respectively. The only year that they did not qualify was 2017. And I think the important takeaway here is that they've been pretty consistent with their record. Over the past 5 years, they haven't tanked under 500, and they haven't gone too far over 500. So they stay just around that mark, which has proven to take them pretty far into the MAAC tournament. And judging by the record alone and how far they have gotten, it seems like they're just knocking on the championship doorstep. So Bridget, what is the team going to look like this season?
So a little over half of this team is made up of underclassmen in comparison to upperclassmen, but it's very close. But this does give opportunities to the new people to get some experience in playing with the upperclassmen and learning from their own experiences. This new group is coming in with 5 freshmen and 3 transfers, with the majority being defenders and midfielders. The transfers are coming in from the University of Central Florida, Lehigh University, and Marshall University. To the team's benefit, all of these players have experience in multiple positions on the field, which makes the team more versatile and flexible in the long run. These new players bring lots of skill and accolades to the table, many having played for well-known successful clubs, awards, and some have played at the highest collegiate level. Therefore, I believe that this team will have a successful season with a similar record to the past year, sitting at 10-9, and with a possible appearance in the semifinals and maybe even the finals in the upcoming spring season that may or may not happen.
Yeah, and like Bridget was saying, the success of these recruits and transfers has already shown that it's going to be crucial to getting them into the MAAC championship. I think that there's a bit of an unspoken rivalry between Marist and St. Peter's. They always seem to run into each other during the tournament, and the games are always very close. In 2018, Marist finished in the semis. They beat St. Peter's in the first round, but the following year they faced them in the regular season and lost 3-2 in overtime. And then they met again in the semifinals, and they also lost 3-2. Will Marist happen to meet them again in the MAAC tournament if they play in the spring or next fall or whenever it works out? Probably, and I think that these recruits and these transfers are really going to help them step up their game to the next level. For further insight on this team, we would like to introduce our special guest for tonight, who's formerly the men's soccer beat writer for Center Field and the social media director, Dan Statile.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Yes, yeah. Thank you for coming. So Dan, who do we have returning this year that you believe could have been effective this season?
Yeah, so the number one clear answer is Alan Gavilanis. He has been sort of like the young up-and-coming star for the past couple of years, and now he's with the seniors that we had graduate last year. He's would have had to become a leader, I guess, an upperclassman leader on the team. He's got tremendous skill on the ball, and is fantastic at finishing as well. So he was definitely one of the pivotal points of the offense for the past couple years. They leaned on him a lot as far as goals and assists were concerned. So he would have had to be like the number one offensive aspect of the team. And then
figured you would say this. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That was like the obvious one, right? But then you've also got last year there were a couple young players that were starting quite often, if not pretty much all the time. One of them being Stetiel. I'm actually not positive how to pronounce his last name, but Antek showed tremendous skill at finishing and on the offensive side of the ball as well. And he played a lot of minutes. He played a lot of big minutes as well. My memory could be off, but I believe he scored in the semifinal game that they were eliminated at St. Peter's, which is a huge goal to score. It's a big time to punch in a goal when you're brand new to the team. So he was definitely. And then as far as leadership goes, also HYPOTHETICALLY at the back, he was a wall pretty much, and also one of the leading scorers on the team last year, even though he was a defender, because he was the penalty taker for most of the season, and took those really well. So he would have been heavily leaned on for leadership and on the defensive side of the ball, and also in those clutch moments to put away a penalty kick. He definitely would have been an important part of the team.
Another important player to mention is junior goalkeeper Sam Ellen. He played and started all of the 19 games of last season. He had 29 goals against him with a goals against average of 1.48, which is per 90 minutes. And he also had 71 goals saved with a save percentage of 0.71. He had 2 shutouts the whole season and has quite the impressive resume, I will say.
Yeah. Sam was fantastic, great to watch too. So something about the college game, which is a lot different than most professional leagues, is that they typically are faster paced, more offensive, and higher scoring as a result of those things. So, to have a goals against average that low and 70 plus saves, he really showed last year why he was such an important addition to the team, with both him and Hype coming from LIU Brooklyn. Marist ended up looking out to get both of them to come up to Poughkeepsie, because they were both, I think they both played the most minutes on the entire team, and fantastic defensively.
Awesome. And you are right, Sam and Hybe had the most minutes of last season. Good instinct, Dan.
Those are just things you never forget. You're gonna know them for the rest of your life.
That's fair. You write one story, and everything that you put in that story, you're never gonna forget. It's absolutely true.
This team is more dominated by underclassmen. Has 3 transfers coming in. Do you see this as being an advantage down the road or in the season, an issue? What's your thoughts?
Definitely don't see it being an issue. Takes a lot for a team to come together, and having pieces from different programs that are transferring in. At the surface level, you could look at it and think, they might not mesh well. Who knows what might happen, and that's true. But you got to look at the coaching staff at that point, and with such an experienced coaching staff, Vigiano going into what would have been I think it would have been his 13th season, and going into that, he's got more experience than most coaches in the MAAC, I'm pretty sure. So, if there's anybody to manage a situation like that, it's going to be him.
Yeah, it's definitely well said. And even now with this possible spring season, they have even more time to get used to each other and see how the team interacts and the dynamic. So that will definitely, I think, be a benefit to many of these fall sports teams coming in the spring, and if not the spring, next year. So I think it won't hurt them in the long run.
So the last two seasons, the men have made it to the semifinals of the MAAC tournament. And last season, St. Peter's showed up in both the regular season game and the semifinal round, beating them 3-2. Do you think we're going to see another semifinal appearance from them, or a final round appearance from Marist? If, like you're saying, their team is so much bigger and older, do you think they have the power to go as far as a championship?
St. Peter. The thing with St. Peter's was last year, nobody really saw them coming. they won a ton of 1-goal games, a handful of overtime games. They just, I mean, this is what everybody says in sports. It's what championship sides do, is they just find the way to win. They just find that last goal at the end of the game or in overtime or whatever it might be. St. Peter's of 2019 absolutely did that. So it's certainly a fire that you have under you if you're a championship team to hold on to that title, right? And if you've got a lot of experienced guys that have been there before and done it before, it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility that we see them there.
I kind of hope we do. I think it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, it definitely will be. And as a fan, you want that revenge, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah.
Especially the returning players, especially the seniors, will want to go out with a bang. So,
in my opinion, I don't think that this is like a rebuild year or anything like that. This extra champ's gonna be so great, and I do think that Marist has the power to be a championship team. It's just a matter of the road they take to get there. Maybe they do the same thing and they just have something click, and there they are. You know.
Yeah.
So as another question, what do you think is most unique about the Marist soccer team in comparison to the others in the MAAC that you've seen over 4 years?
So I guess I would say the sort of multi-tool offense that Viggiano has had over the past couple years. He's had players with a versatility of skill sets that you see much more in the college game, and Viggiano has a bunch of players that can play sort of all over the offense, whether it's they can play in the attacking midfield, they can play wide as wingers, they can play up top as a striker, or even as a false nine. Like Alan Gavilanis can play wide, he can play up top, he can play as a 10 in the midfield. As far as the younger guys that come in, because they came in different spots last year, wherever they had to sub in. Some of the younger attackers, would come in on either wing or up top, or, a lot of interchanging, which is really good because you can throw off an opponent like that. You could throw off an opponent, you can switch up the look that you have. Different guys bring, whether they're right or left footed, can bring different things on either side. So there's a lot of options, basically, attack on the attack side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, for Viggiano to exploit, which is, as a coach, probably a great problem, I would imagine, something that you want to have where, your guys can stick in different positions.
So, Dan, thank you so much for coming on and talking about men's soccer with us. That does it for another episode of Hypothetically. Checked off the list. Episode 2 done. Make sure you stay tuned and check out our next video coming out. We're going to be talking about football. I'm not sure if that's highly anticipated or not, but football's an interesting sport to cover, so we're looking forward to it.
See you next time.
Thanks for having me.